This is RPP, Radio Port Phillip, 98.7 and 98.3 FM.
Now, coming up next on the KK Factor, I'm going to be honoured to introduce someone truly inspiring, Julie Fisher, a passionate advocate, bestseller author, speaker, and a proud mum to 16-year-old Darcy who has Down syndrome. Julie, alongside her dear friend Tina Norton and mum to 21-year-old Amy, she has a beautiful connection not only as mothers but are fierce advocates for inclusion, acceptance, and supporting families with children living with a disability. Julie is the author of The Unexpected Journey and the Magic of Inclusion. And in 2022, she launched her very first TED Talk, a powerful message of awareness and empowerment. She's worked with organisations like Carers Victoria, Down Syndrome Victoria, Friend in Me, and Variety, the children's charity Victoria. Tina, on the other hand, has been the heart of community support for years, running coffee groups for mums, volunteering for Special Olympics, Western Port, and offering a helping hand to new families navigating life with children with Down syndrome. Together, Julie and Tina have launched their heartfelt and informative show, The Unexpected Journey, that airs every Tuesday at RPP FM, where they speak with service providers and community leaders, giving a voice to families and helping others know they're not alone. With their lived experience, warmth, and commitment to change, this is a conversation that will inspire, uplift, and educate. Stay tuned. Julie Fisher's coming up next on the KK Factor. And while we get Julie ready, let's listen to Mia Agaya.
Πώς να μπορέσω να αντέξω αν δεν είσαι εκεί. Μια αγκαλιά με δυο φιλιά και ο κόσμος σας χαθεί. Πόσο μου έχεις λείψει, πες μου πόσο. Δεν ήθελα να σε πληγώσω ποτέ. Πόσο θα ήθελα να σε δω. Θα πιάνομαι να σωθώ. Μη προσέχεις γιατί σε προσέχω εγώ. Μια αγκαλιά θέλω ξανά γιατί μου λείπει πολύ. Πώς να μπορέσω να αντέξω αν δεν είσαι εκεί. Μια αγκαλιά με δυο φιλιά και ο κόσμος σας χαθεί. Μη πιστεύεις ξεκόλα. Αν ακούσω τι λένε τότε αφήστε όλα. Θέλω απάντηση τώρα. Μαζί στο ποτέ ή μαζί μες στην πόρα. Γιατί όταν είσαι μαζί μου είναι όλα γεια. Γιατί σε η αφορμή να με πιο καλό. Γιατί μια μαύρη Δευτέρα ήσουν να το φως. Άλλη μια φορά μες στα μάτια σου χάνομαι πάλι εγώ. Κι όσο πέφτω θα πιάνομαι να σωθώ. Μη προσέχεις γιατί σε προσέχω εγώ. Μια αγκαλιά θέλω ξανά γιατί μου λείπει πολύ. Πώς να μπορέσω να αντέξω αν δεν είσαι εκεί. Μια αγκαλιά με δυο φιλιά και ο κόσμος σας χαθεί. Μια αγκαλιά κάτι σου λείπει θα γεμίζω. Σ' όλα τα ψεύτικα εσένα είχα αλήθινο. Μια αγκαλιά να σε κρατήσει να σε πάντα εδώ.
Michelle, thank you so much for writing that you love the music, because I know you are far from Greek, but music is music, doesn't matter about the lyrics. So I'm really glad that you're enjoying the show, and thank you for joining in on the live. It's great to see your name pop up, and I can't wait to see you as well. Okay, let's get our special guest on, Julie Fisher, and there's things more than what she does here.
Look at my big head.
Julie,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me okay?
No, we can't hear you.
You can't hear me. Okay. Hang
Nope.
on. Let me move. Don't you love
That's okay.
techie? Right. Back now.
Actually,
can you hear
Julie,
me now?
can you speak? I think we just say hello.
Hello? Hello?
Got you.
All right, hang on. Let me just move.
It's all working out.
Let me move.
Moving around.
There we go.
Okay, sit down.
Turn you up. All right.
Yes, Adonim, all the way from Larissa in Greece. I'm just going to read one of our Greek listeners. It happens to be my first cousin in Larissa, Ελλάδα. Μπράβο σου, Ρούλα, με το υπέροχο πρόγραμμα σου. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ, Αντώνη. Ξέρω δεν καταλαβαίνεις Εγγλέζικα. He doesn't really understand all that much with the English, but he does enjoy seeing me interviewing people, and obviously he loves the music. Julie, welcome to my show.
Thank you, Rula. Thank you for having me. It's exciting. I've been looking forward to it.
You know, it's really exciting when you have a colleague from RPP FM, another host from another show, getting onto your show. It's really great, you know, to talk about the different shows. And I did a huge intro about you just before I got you on live. Mm-hmm. And I just want to share a story because I did mention when we first met, I did mention it on one of my shows, and a couple of my listeners said, "Oh, you should get her on a show so we can meet." And I think it was one of my listeners, Alex. It could have been Okostaki, but it doesn't really matter. So, guys, this is Julie Fisher. Julie and I went to school together, and we didn't know. So it was about a month ago, if that, when I did my show, and I got home. It was about 10:30 at night. And I remember seeing this message come from this Julie Fisher. And I was really interested because it wasn't a Greek listener and you know, I'm going to read it. And I read and it said, I know I went to school with someone by the name of Roulakk. And I don't know if that's you. And I remember being super excited. And the first thing I said to you was, well, I can assure you there's only one Roulakk in the whole of Australia. How good is that? Like, that's the best to know that there's only one of me. Yes. Thank goodness. And I remember saying to you, but I couldn't recall the surname Fisher. Mm-hmm. And I looked at your face and it was like something, and it was the name Julie, but I could not pinpoint. I couldn't. And I went to a few schools, and then it wasn't until you gave me a list of schools that you went to when it was like, oh, we did year 10 together at McKinnon High School. And I was so excited. And I said to you, but it's the surname. And then you told me your maiden name, and it all came back, you know, and it was like, oh my gosh, you know. And then we find out that we're both on RPP FM, both on a Tuesday. Your show, what's the time slot of your show again? So I don't get it wrong.
1 till 2 p.m.
1 till 2 p.m. So it's a 1 hour show. Yep. Alex says it was me asking for her. I've known her years ago. Alex, you know Julie Fisher. Can you elaborate on that? Can you share how you know Julie? Yeah, so Julie and I went to McKinnon High School together, and, you know, it brought back so many flooded memories when we spoke. And I remember McKinnon High School, and thank goodness schools are not like that anymore, except for when you go to Greek Panagiria, they call them. They're like little festivals, and you've got like all the little Greek communities, you know, whether you're up south, north, east, west, from this town, you know. And I remember at school where it was basically the Greeks and the Italians and the Australians. And I used to get bullied all the time, and the Greeks didn't really like me. I mean, they did like me, but they didn't like me. And the reason why they didn't like me, although they liked me, it was because I used to hang out with the Australians. Thank goodness that does not happen anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, when I think back in the way, you know, when we went to school, that was like, oh my goodness, I would hate for my grandkids to go through something like that. And I could never give myself solely to the Greeks, and I couldn't give myself solely to Australians. So I was kind of both. So one day I'd be with my Australian friends, and the next day I'd be with my European friends. The Australian friends used to embrace me, never got bullied, but I did for my Greek friends, which is really shocking when I think about it. But you know what? I don't think I've really ever changed. I am a very diverse person and love all cultures and races and just love people in general. And, I embrace people for who they are. As long as no one does anything bad to me, I love humans.
Yeah.
And it's really great that, we cross paths. And I've always had this thing where I say to people that people cross paths for a reason,
Yeah.
um, at a certain time in your life. And you may not know at that moment, but something will happen. And then it'll be like, this is why we came together. And, I looked at then your whole story and you've written books, you've won awards, you've been nominated left, right, and center. And now I have nominated you for OAM because I think you're very worthy of that title.
Thank you.
And I will come clean. I actually nominated you and went on the website and put every detail in there, Julie, because what you have done for people with children with disabilities is just amazing work. And it's not just that, it's the advocacy, it's the support, it's the people that you interview every week on your show, it's the books that you have written. I grew up with a friend who had a Down syndrome child, and I loved David. I loved him. He was so gentle and just an adorable child. And I remember back in those years, and to all our listeners, I know this is going to be a little bit of a sensitive topic, and it is for me too. But I remember back then thinking, because I used to speak to the mum, I was very good friends with his mum, and she went through a horrible time, Julie, where she cried as he was getting closer to the age of 21. And
Yeah.
I was saying to her, why? What's going on? What is it? And she said, you don't understand. Their lifespan is till 21. Now, he's in his 30s. He's still with us.
Yeah.
But back then, things were so, so different. And you didn't have people like you, Julie, to advocate. And people that had children with disabilities, because they didn't have the support, how are they going to give support to other families? Whereas life has progressed and you've embraced your child. But not only that, because you've given him love and everything that a mother does and every other mother does, but you've gone beyond that and turned your family situation into such a positive that you're also out there helping others. How did that happen, Julie? How did you fit it in as a mother and as a wife and as Julie Fisher?
Yeah. I don't know. I think even like before he was born, I mean, we received a prenatal diagnosis, which 20 years ago was very uncommon here in Australia because the only way to do it was with an amniocentesis. But I'd met Tina before I got pregnant, and she had Amy, and I remember asking her what it was like getting a postnatal diagnosis, and her answer made me think I would never want that to happen. And one of the things that she said was that everyone that came to visit was crying. And I thought, how sad is that people are coming into the hospital crying, and it's a baby. Like, babies need to be celebrated. So walking home that day, I thought, if that ever happened to me, I would want to know so that I could tell everyone. I understood the grieving process, but I sort of thought, you can't do that once the child's here. Like, that's not right. It's not fair. And that puts more pressure on the parents. So 2 years later, I got pregnant, and then we did receive a prenatal diagnosis because of that conversation with Tina. So we told all of our friends, we told our older boys. I wanted them to be as prepared as possible, and I wanted us to be as prepared as possible. And back then, Tina was running a coffee group, so I started attending that while I was pregnant. And we were laughing about it on the show today, actually, that I'd actually mapped out his primary years before he was even born because of all the beautiful women and children that I met at that coffee group. And then, as Darcy grew and we got into the school system and, we started meeting more and more families, I always sort of found myself trying to help them with things that I knew. And, I didn't know everything. I was asking questions as well, but I feel like I'm a pretty good problem solver. So I always used to find myself just sort of doing that and not meaning to, but just sort of trying to support those parents, because sometimes it's, very lonely, very hard. You feel like you're the only person in the world going through these things. And, it is very emotional because, I mean, they're deemed as not, I don't like this word, but they're deemed as not normal. And, I remember a man coming into where I used to work, and he was disabled, and he told me he'd had a car accident, and he said, everybody thinks I'm not normal. He goes, but guess what? Normals are sitting on a washing machine. And I needed to hear that day. And I said, you're right, we're all different. And I don't know, it's just sort of happened, Roulakk. I think more so after the first book. The book was interesting because people sort of say, what made you write the book? And I wonder if they get a bit disappointed when I tell them, because what made me write the book was that it was a dream I'd had since the age of about 14 to write a book, because I always loved writing. It's a real, I get very soothed by it, and I get really lost in it, and I relax. And so that's why I wrote it. It was a bucket list item. And just the stuff that's come from that book, everything's evolved organically over the last 6 years. And I absolutely love what I do. I love that I can share Darcy with the world and show them what he can do. And show them what he loves. What he loves. He loves to do regular things like play basketball and bowling and hang out with his friends, and he gets grumpy as well, and I like to share that
so
with people.
we.
Yeah, that's right. But there's a perception out there still that people with Down syndrome are always happy, but they're not. But when you see them out in the community doing what they love,
They're
course
obviously
you
very
see them.
happy.
That's right.
Well, look, the word disability these days, we always try to promote it in a different way. Disability these days means that you've got a different ability.
That's right.
And, one of the biggest things that has taught me that so well is with my full-time job. And we do talk a lot about with people who've got autism and their skills, their highly valued skills. And employers like to have someone that's got autism because of the skill set that we don't have.
Yeah.
So it's amazing the different abilities that these children and adults do have. Now, just give me one moment. I just want to send my love out to a very good friend, Mike. Mike, I love you as well. I haven't seen you in a while. I don't want you feeling lonely or emotional tonight. You're on the KK Factor. You're on the Greek EuroBeat show. You're with me, your friend Roulakk, and I've got a guest on right now, Julie. We play fantastic music, so I want you to stay on, and I'll give you a call later on as well. I just want to hear your voice. You're truly an amazing person, and he's also very inspiring because we both sat down one day and talked about some symptoms of our health. We've got some similar things that we go through, and I want to share, with you, Mike, later on a story that hopefully will put a smile onto your face. Now, Michelle, my friend Michelle said, everyone gets grumpy in life. It looks like you're a very good protector of your son, and that's lovely to hear. That goes out to you, Julie. For another good friend of mine, Michelle, who I've not physically seen for so many years. And we've just sort of crossed paths again online at the moment. And, I was in Lakes Entrance for the weekend, and she saw some photos and she said, I'm in Lakes Entrance. I had no idea. So we're going to catch up next time I'm down there visiting the parents. Yeah. So going back to you and the story, when you had Darcy, do you think as we said earlier, how people meet at a certain time, and, you met Tina and then she had Amy, is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
And so you were part of her journey from day one, and then you had Darcy with Down syndrome as well. Do you think that if you hadn't met Tina and you weren't so involved with the things that you're involved now, do you think you might have broken as a new mum? Not as a new mum, because you've got your sons, but you've just had another child, but this time this child's got a disability.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that would have affected you in a different way, or do you think the connection that you built with Tina taught you something inside? So when it was your time that your journey was going to start with a Down syndrome child, and I do believe our paths, they're already written for us.
Oh, yeah.
You became who you became, not just his mum, but an advocate and an inspiring person who is there to support other mothers, especially new mothers with Down syndrome children or with children with other disabilities. Do you think that would have changed if you hadn't met Tina?
I think it would have been different. I definitely think I still would have had Darcy. But I don't think I would have known he had Down syndrome until he was born.
Yeah, things were different back then, weren't they? They could see in a scan how many fingers and everything else, but they couldn't intensely see what they see these days. And I do know of stories of mums that say, you know what, if there's anything wrong with my child, I don't care. As long as that their whole body's not deformed, whatever it'll be, it'll be.
Yeah.
But now we do know.
100%. And I mean, when I share our story on stages and things like that, I always talk about Tina, and I sometimes start the speech with, "Do you think the universe sets you up for what's about to come?" Sometimes, because that's what happened to me, and I really do believe that.
I do too.
Yeah, look, when I had the scan with Darcy, and because of Tina, I knew some of the markers for Down syndrome, and one of them is the thicker skin fold on the back of the neck, which is the nuchal fold. And I don't know what they're called. The scanning guy said he kept measuring the thickness of the back of the neck. So straight away, I sort of thought, I reckon he thinks the baby's got Down syndrome. And he said, look, I can't tell you. The only way you can get a diagnosis is with an amniocentesis. But he said his heart is fine, his heart is healthy, all the internal organs are fine. So if I hadn't have met Tina and I hadn't have known that marker, I wouldn't have even known what he was doing. And because all of Darcy's internal organs were fine, we wouldn't have even had an inkling. But because of Tina, and after that scan, I came home and we decided together that we would get the diagnosis. But I came home and said to my husband, the baby's got Down syndrome. So, let's find out, let's learn as much as we can, let's start attending Tina's coffee group and meet the other families and the other children. And that was really beautiful because we could see straight away that these kids played just like our older two played together. They chased each other, they threw the ball. It was wonderful. It was really, really lovely. But there was still emotion attached to it all as well.
Yes.
We went through that roller coaster as well. Sometimes we were up here and other times we were way low. But that's okay because we didn't, we knew a lot about Down syndrome, but we still didn't know what that was going to look like for our family until he arrived.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Was it difficult for your older children, or did they slowly embrace it because they saw the positivity in you and your husband?
I think they did embrace it. They were excited to be big brothers again, especially my middle son, Blake. He was the little brother and he was excited to be a big brother. They were nervous as well. They weren't really sure. But when Darcy was born and, he just did regular baby things when he was a baby, they were smitten with him, and they're his fiercest protectors now. They absolutely adore him. But, they stir him up like brothers do. And I love that too, because I don't want them to, tiptoe around him or anything. I want him to be brought up as a regular kid as well, as much as you can. Obviously there's certain things that he needs supports with, but you want to bring him up as as regular as you can. But he's different, because people with Down syndrome are different. They're very genuine.
They're very loving. They love giving hugs.
Yes.
Like sometimes you think, geez, we don't have any issues, and it'd be nice to be a bit more nurturing and loving, and yet these children do grow up even as adults to give so much love to everybody. Julie, just in talking about my friend's situation where she thought that she was going to lose her son at 21, obviously things have changed and things have progressed, testings and everything. And back then, was it because they couldn't diagnose holes in the heart, whereas now they do? Is that right? Am I right or correct in saying that a lot of Down syndrome children are born with a hole in the heart, but now they can fix that, which in turn also gives them longevity?
That's right. It's very common for them to be born with a heart defect, but with medical intervention nowadays, there's other common things that can happen with children with Down syndrome, but with medical intervention as it is today, there's a lot more. They live a lot longer. They're actually outliving their parents now, which is why.
Wow, isn't it amazing?
It is amazing, but it's it's sort of turned. Like it never used to be like that, whereas now we have to start thinking about, wow, he's really going to have to go live somewhere else one day, and things like that, and that's terrifying. Like
and you're going to prepare him.
Me. I'm not quite ready for that
not yet to give him that independency yet.
No, but I want to show you a photo if you can see it. Hopefully you can. So I do have another book called From the Hearts of Mums, and it's 13 stories of
Did
mums.
you write that book?
Yes, so I interviewed all the ladies in the book, and I know
Yep.
all
Show
of
us
them.
the photo. No,
Some of them I met that they live overseas, and this particular lady lives in California, and she cared for this gentleman. He was a roommate of her and her husband for 21 years. Unfortunately, he did pass away in 2021, but he was 73 when he passed away. Can you see that?
Wow. Very
Yeah.
clear. Wow. How amazing is that? 73 years old.
73 he was. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's so amazing.
I know.
Julie,
And
how many books have you written?
so I've written the 3 big books, and then I have also a children's book called Big School.
Can you lift them up one at a time?
One at a time, yep. So The Unexpected Journey.
Which is what the show on RPP FM is also called. Every
yes. And
Tuesday,
because
1 p.m.
everything that's happened since I wrote this book has been unexpected, so it's a perfect title.
Great title.
Yeah. Then The Magic of Inclusion. Give people a chance and watch.
Can you tell me a little bit about the magic of inclusion? Can you just brief us about the book?
Yeah, I want it's not about, like, I share our story in there, and I share different things that we've gone through with Darcy from when he was born, and it's just really about people being kind at the end of the day, you know, giving people a chance, like, you know, making them feel accepted in the community that they live in. Like, you know, nowadays with sport and things like that, there's a lot more inclusion happening. It can still get better, but there's a lot more of that happening. There's not as much advocating in that area anymore, just a little. But when you go out into the community to go shopping and things like that, you know, you're still getting the stares, the points, the comments, all that sort of lovely stuff. And this book really is to highlight how it makes us feel, and how important it is just for everyone to feel comfortable in their skin and comfortable when they go out. I don't want to hear more stories about people not taking their children into the community because people are staring and pointing at them. It's rubbish.
It's getting better, though. It's getting better, Julie.
It's getting better, but we do still encounter it every time we go out. You know, not so much in our local community, but, you know, when we branch out further, we still see it. I react a lot differently these days to it than I did when he was a baby. I used to be a bit nasty. And
look, as a mother would.
Oh, your protection level goes through the roof when you think people are, but they know that I've seen them, and a lot of people, this is where I sort of say to people, you know, if you're looking at someone and you've seen that they see you, just give them a smile, because it changes the whole narrative of that look. It turns it into a look, not a stare. And, you know, it's more inviting and accepting then. And I smile at people as well now, rather than say, I mean, one poor lady, I told her, take a photo and take it home so you can work out what's wrong with him. And she was horrified. And when I came home and told my husband, he said, she was probably looking at him because he's cute. And I said, she was not. But she probably was, you know, and I was probably a nasty woman to her that day.
No, you're just being a mother.
Well, now I smile at them, and sometimes, you know, they say hello. And, it was a real learning curve for me as well, because not everybody that looks is staring. And when you think about it, we do look at people. People are fascinating. But I'd never noticed anybody looking at me before when I was out. I only noticed it when I had Darcy with me. So that's what that book's about. And I asked some questions of some other mums in the back of the book, you know, how they feel when they go out to the community, and that what they wish for their children. And what we wish is for them to feel accepted in their community and beyond, and confident to go out and live life as it should be lived.
That's right.
Yeah.
And your third book?
From the Hearts of Mums. So stories of love and inclusion in the world of Down syndrome. And 4 of the stories of the ladies are from the UK. 2 of them are from the US, and the rest of them are my friends from Australia.
Wow. And Julie, now Alex says, hi, Julie, you should do an interview with my theatre company that have actors with disabilities. And Michelle goes on to say that's so sad. People need to grow up. That's so true. But I think it's not just growing up. I think it's having an understanding. And
That's
I
right.
know, Julie, you've gone out there. You've been a spokesperson, a speaker at many events. Like sometimes I lose track of you through the whole week or the month. Like I know you do your show every Tuesday, and it's like she's flying there, flown there, she's been there, done that. Either you're winning awards or being nominated for awards or receiving an award or you're speaking out there. So it'd be great to have more people like you to get out there and advocate and talk and visit schools and talk to children and parents so that when they go out in the community, it all stems from somewhere. I mean, have you ever done that sort of stuff, like starting from a school?
I haven't spoken at schools yet, but my books are in a few of the schools, which is really good. And I think what happens is when we don't know disability or when we don't understand something, we fear it, and when we fear it, we react a certain way. And I think
That's exactly right.
I think a lot of what happens is that. But when it's your child, you're not thinking about oh, they might be not sure what to say, they might be a bit fearful. You're not thinking that. You're thinking, hang on a minute, what are you doing looking at my kid like that for? Go away, leave us alone, sort of thing. But some people say horrible things as well, like awful. It's just awful. I remember a story from one of my friends. They went out for dinner. Her son's autistic, and he was about 3 at the time, and was sitting on the floor next to the table, next to his mum, not hurting anybody else. And a woman walked past, and then she backtracked, bent down to his level, and said, "You're disgusting," and then walked off. And my friend was,
Oh, jeez.
we don't even know, like, why, because he was sitting on the floor. So what? He wasn't hurting anyone. People can be really cruel sometimes. And, it's like bullies. I think they've got a bit of a chip on their own shoulder. That's how I like to think of it. And that's how I sort of push through it as well. But as long as the kids are okay, like I do protect Darcy when we go out and about. And that's why I started smiling at people and things like that, because when I was reacting negatively, he was starting to feel that. And I thought, I don't ever want him not to go out, not to want to go out. I want him to feel confident all the time, because he deserves that. So doing that smile and changing it completely has created that for him. And like you reckon I've got a good social calendar. You want to see his. It's out of this world. He's out and about all the time, and he absolutely loves everything that he does and the people he does it with. So we're very lucky.
I did see a little video of Darcy somewhere singing, and he was stoked and so happy.
Yeah.
Like it's just amazing. I think look, society has changed, especially with Down syndrome children.
It has. Yeah.
And maybe that's why we're like, if I go out, I don't really notice because everyone's the same. I mean, when you look at a Down syndrome, and how did I diagnose that that child's got Down syndrome? Sometimes I might be, okay, they've got the more rounder eyes, but that's the first thing you see on their face, really.
Yeah.
So it's there's nothing wrong with that,
No,
but I don't look at every child like that because they're like normal people.
Yeah,
They're not
they are
screaming
people,
and carrying on. And
yeah.
even people that are normal. I mean, what is normal? Even as
on a
us
washing
adults,
machine.
we're yelling, we're carrying on like pork chops out there, making fools of ourselves.
Yeah.
And then you've got these Down syndrome children that are just humble and happy, and if they've got their moments, well, so what? We do too.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Everyone that lives with a disability is a person with feelings, wants and needs, just like all of us. And I think when we can look beyond the disability and see the person first, that's when we're really making progress. And, I know that people have given me that feedback after reading my books. I had a 75-year-old man tell me, look, I don't normally read books. I bought the book to support you, but I did read it. And he said, I see a group of people with disability every week when I go shopping. And he said, this morning I was looking at them like I always do, but looking at them a bit differently. And he goes, I can't work out why. And I said, because you don't see the disability now. You're looking at them as people. He goes, I think you're right.
Yeah.
And, that's wonderful. And I think we've just got to remember that, yes, they do need supports when they're out in the community. Darcy needs to access the community with a support person. But you know what? Sometimes we all need a bit of support,
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Julie, look, you're very humble. Tell me a bit about the last awards that you have won. I know you're not someone to brag, but it's very well deserved. Tell me a bit like the last few awards that you have received.
Well, the most recent one was the Beam in Awards, and I won gold for excellence in diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
And it's, the founder, Beck Smith, is a friend of mine as well. And I've always wanted to win one of her awards. I've been a finalist 3 years in a row. And this year I actually took out the gold. And, it's not just, you don't do things to get awards. You definitely don't do it for that. But it's really nice to be recognised for the hard work that you've done.
Right.
But the other great thing about awards is the community that you end up in. You end up in a community of, like-minded people, even though they're all doing different things. They're all wanting to support each other as well and help each other. And I really, really like that. And the room that she's created is a room of people that I really love and admire and look up to. So, that's a win-win. Excuse me. I did win a bronze award for the Magic of Inclusion, a book award, and I've won a Raw award for author as a bronze as well.
You deserve it.
Oh, thank you.
You deserve it. Well done. And it's not just the fact that you deserve it. It's a fact that you standing for all mothers with Down syndrome children or a child with disability, but you're so positive. And that is so important for a mum who needs that support to be able to look at you and go, okay, she can support me. I can do this, and that's amazing. I do want to ask one other question to you.
Okay.
I think it's important because obviously as a mum that you're not every day going to be positive and everything's, beautiful. You're going to have your breaking moments, whether it's because of Darcy or the overload of all the work, the support that you give to other mothers. That's going to have an impact at some point in your life.
Mm-hmm.
How do you help I know you're resilient, but again, we've still got breaking points. How do you help your mental health and your well-being to bounce back after something you've gone through?
I make sure I take breaks when I know I need them. That's really important. If I can feel myself getting overwhelmed with something I'm doing, I think I need to take a break because I'm heading towards a burnout, I think, if I don't. So I always make sure I take a break. I have some great friends and family who I can talk to about things and offload, because I think that's really important, because I think we do break if we carry everything in our hearts and on our shoulders.
Right.
We need to let it go. And I learned that really well when I wrote The Unexpected Journey, because when we were getting very close to having Darcy, I did start to worry about when I saw him, I might not want him. Now, I knew that wasn't going to happen, but it was this thought that kept coming into my head. And, of course, when he was born and they put him in my arms, he was the most beautiful little baby in the world, absolutely gorgeous.
Did you suffer from postnatal depression at any point? Like I did, and my children don't have disabilities, but I did.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think I did, but I always had support around me too. Like I had a lot of support around me. But when I wrote The Unexpected Journey and I wrote about that particular feeling that I had, all of a sudden the tears started to flow and I felt this weight lift off my shoulder. So I'd been carrying that guilty feeling for 13 years without even realising. And when I wrote that book, I thought, geez, it's really important to get that stuff out and talk to at least one person about, the down stuff that you're feeling and the worry that you're feeling. And, I've got some good people around me that I can do that with, and they do it with me as well. So, I think that's really important. I always get asked, what's your number one tip for people, for parents in the world of disability? And I say, surround yourself with support. Doesn't matter if it's one person, two people, a group. Have support that you can lean on. I think it's
positive people.
Yeah, that's right. And I do think it's important to be in contact with an organisation specific to the disability, because they can give you lots of resources and lots of help and support as well. Yeah.
Now, one of our listeners, Olga, she says, amazing talk about disability. People need to be education because they have their rights. I have too with a disability. Olga, thank you so much for sharing that personal information. Thank you. Daphne sends her love. Olga says again, every day is a challenge with adults with disability. And Michelle says, my little niece has got a disability and we love her so much. It's a learning disability, and because she's the only child, it's hard for her. Thank you so much, Michelle. Look, our listeners here now, some will share, some won't, and that's fine. That's okay.
That's fine. Yeah.
How can they get in contact with you if they just want to reach out, Julie?
Well, probably the best is to go to my Facebook page, The Unexpected Journey, which they can follow me and they can send me messages on there, and that's how we can start the conversation. So it's very easy to find, The Unexpected Journey, and the image is of me with a microphone in my hand, so speaking on stage. And I just wanted to say to Alex that Darcy actually does do performing arts. He's part of a group called BAM Arts Incorporated down here on the peninsula, and he does drama, singing lessons, and dance, and he absolutely loves it. And they've got a concert coming up soon.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Julie, thank you so much. We are running out of time. We've got literally 9 minutes left. I want to thank you once again for opening up and talking about it, and I hope my listeners got a lot out of it. Please reach out to Julie, The Unexpected Journey. I will go on the KK Factor page and I will share the book, and I'll also share it on Instagram, TikTok, and everywhere else. And then if you want to reach out to Julie, that's fantastic. Alex says, I do know them. Julie, thank you so much. And I can't wait to meet Darcy in person. And I quickly want to also thank you for taking me to that cafe when we first caught up at a cafe, and it was run by adults with disabilities. That was an amazing experience, and the actual cafe was just amazing.
Yeah,
I can't remember the name of it.
Cafe La Wheels, and it's in Seaford.
Cafe
La Wheels.
La Wheels. LA and then Wheels. There you go, guys. Julie, thank you so much. Thank you for coming onto my show.
Thank you. It's been great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye, everyone.
Ήρθες από το πουθένα, δεν σ' είχα υπολογίσει. Πίστευα ότι όλα τα είχα δει και όλα τα είχα ζήσει. Με πήρες σαν μικρό παιδί από το χέρι πάλι και μου δείξες πως να κοιτώ το κόσμο από την άλλη. Κι όπως τα βλέπω τώρα αλλιώς, ελανθόλω μια στα άλλα, γιατί κολούσα στα μικρά και έχανα τα μεγάλα.
Thank you, Sava, for that little message. I will read this out because I know Julie's listening in. We have all had many various experiences, some good and some so not so good. Life is a challenge. Life with its ups and downs should be embraced, loved and enjoyed. Love for everyone is the key. Thank you, Sava.
Η σχέση μου μαζί σου μικρό γρανάζι έγινα και έχω στη μηχανή σου. Στα ήσυχα μου τα νερά έριξες μία πέτρα, κύμα σηκώθηκε με μιας ίσα με 2 μέτρα. Έφερες την ανατροπή, ήρθαν τα πάνω κάτω, μου έδειξες το δρόμο για να πάω παρακάτω. Κι όπως τα βλέπω τώρα πια, μελαγχολώ μια στάλα, γιατί κολούσα στα μικρά και χάνα τα μεγάλα. Όλε, όλε, όλε θρία, η σχέση μου με σένα ανέτρεψε τα λογικά και τα κατεστημένα. Όλε, όλε, όλε θρία, η σχέση μου μαζί σου μικρογρανάζι έγινα κι εγώ στη μηχανή σου.
Oh, we are coming slowly to the end of the show. You've been with Roulakk, Greek Roulakk, KK.